Anybody who studied the region with any degree of sort of objectivity understands that the IRGC is the fulcrum of power in Iran. The 2009 uprising failed, I believe, in large part due to what Mr. Sherman, my colleague from California, referenced as a willingness of individuals to level firearms at their fellow citizens. And it wasn't obviously just the IRGC, but subsidiary elements such as the Quds forces thereof. And so if we're attempting to ensure better outcomes in Iran, I think we should focus our efforts on the IRGC. I'm not sure if it was Mr. Rohrbacher or Mr. Perry who initially commented and actually I think it was Mr. Poe who originally commented on potentially extending the Treasury Department's OFAC controls to implement actions wherein they would treat the IRGC as a state sponsor or as a sponsor of terror. But I can't think of a good reason not to do this, except that, as I understand it, the JCPOA instructed a lot of the restrictions, a lot of the sanctions that have been placed on the IRGC to be lifted, which seems to me to be counter to American policy in any number of arenas. Number one, the previous administration's failure to act in 2015 after the Russians waited 5 years to complete the sale of S-300 missiles to Iran created a circumstance wherein, if you understand the capabilities of the S-300 platform, any Generation 4 aircraft carrier-based aircraft really can't take off in the Persian Gulf safely. That's just the reality. And so we have no Gen 5 assets, F-35 comments withheld in that capable range. And truly, I read where we have, quote, a robust suite of plans that are real resourced and our forces are ready to execute them, and I wonder if we do, particularly in a world where if we executed a strike with simply F-22s and B-2s, we have about, what, 10 operational platforms of the latter. So if we wanted to act, we couldn't. We know the fulcrum of power in Iran is the IRGC, and we're hamstrung by a JCPOA that doesn't let us attack the fulcrum of power, metaphorically, not literally, the IRGC. And it's hard for me to fathom, having worn a uniform and knowing Ranger Exum, because I use that because it's more impressive than doctor, and Mr. Perry fought alongside and served alongside some of the 500 American service members who we estimate were killed by IEDs manufactured by the IRGC and their subsidiaries, which goes beyond the 283 Americans who died in Beirut, and I could keep going, Lebanon, the Khobar Towers, a plot to assassinate the Saudi ambassador here on this soil. So if we want a better outcome in Iran, I would submit that we need to function in a way that we could penalize the IRGC, which will then destabilize the regime because the guns are what keep the mullahs in power. Having said that, I would ask, and I don't have a ton of time left, if anybody can tell me if when we do things like send 400 million unmarked euros at a time when it would correlate to the release of foreign-held dual citizens, whether it was ransom or not, the optics are bad, right? If that doesn't encourage the same sort of bad behavior. And I would point to similar activities undertaken not just in the Sudan and North Korea subsequent and precedent to that, but also in Iran. Here are your foreign nationals back. We've got our 400 million. We now have some more people. So I guess, you know, we have what? U.S. citizens and legal permanent residents to the tune of 10, 8 plus 2, I think, held in Iran now. And for us to negotiate in good faith, I would argue, is a betrayal of these folks, of my oath to defend the Constitution and the citizens of the nation that it rules over. And how can we do that? I mean, why not just cut off all activities in any non-military way that we can with the fulcrum of power in Iran and refuse to do business with those who do business with these folks and let them choose between economic activities with the United States or with Iran? I think I know which way they make those choices. So I guess this is a really convoluted compound question, but doesn't the JCPOA really hamstring us from attacking metaphorically, not literally, the axis of power, the fulcrum of power in Iran, the IRGC, by virtue of the elements therein, and therefore doesn't it actually serve to perpetuate the existence of the regime? Mr. Modell. Sorry, you just get picked at random.
No, Congressman Garrett couldn't agree more. I think that if you're going to actually do the things that Congressman Rohrbacher was talking about and some of the things that I've mentioned in my testimony, that is weakening the IRGC, you have to focus on that. And I think that the existence of this regime depends on the existence of the IRGC. They're at the center of everything. For them to control 25 to 50% of the economy and not to be held accountable or for businesses not to be held to a higher standard before doing business with there. And I think, quite frankly, the hurdles are way too low. You're actually contributing to the perpetuation of a regime that is fundamentally against us in every way.
Right. And, Mr. Chairman, I know I'm over, but did we not, with the JCPOA, seek to essentially see, hopefully, regime change to a more moderate regime before the Iranians hit that nuclear threshold? That's really the goal, right? Give us time, and if there's a change in the power. But if we don't hit that fulcrum of power, there'll be no regime change, Mr. Albright.
Yeah, well, that was some of the talking points. I'm not sure the negotiators necessarily believe that, but it was, in a sense, they were asked kick the can down the road, and they did. And we can. On your question on the IRGC, I think I think the impact on the JCPOA is, do we lose the Europeans or not? I mean, that's really, and so I think the issue for the administration is they're going to have to get out there and manage the relationship with the Europeans. So if they do decide to move forward on listing the IRGC under the executive order as a terrorist organization, that they don't lose the Europeans, because certainly it's their business that'll be affected. But I think it can be done, but it's certainly, the administration has to get out there and talk to them. The Europeans have made it clear that this upsets them. But I think that it can be managed.
Excuse me, if you'd indulge me for just a moment. I think that you're right, that sanctions diplomacy is very important.
I'm afraid time's expired, but we're going to let you put that in writing.
Okay.